Today is the first episode that I'm going to be making cruelty-free Kentucky Fried Chicken burger. Yeah, that's right, I'm going to be making a vegan KFC burger. So I'm going to be making the chicken element using wheat gluten. It's also called seitan sometimes, and this is actually an ancient recipe that I've sort of modernised to make that sort of chicken flavour. And when I first went vegan, I did miss that sort of texture of meat, but this is such an amazing alternative. I wish I never ate meat and had this all my life basically. So this is a really good alternative, and that is why us vegans like to have meat replacements. And it's so simple to make. So first up, let's get that all-important wheat gluten. Add 1 cup of wheat gluten to a mixing bowl. Next into the bowl, I'm going to be adding a 1/4 cup of chickpea flour or gram flour, and that is our dry ingredients done. So I need to make the wet ingredients now, and into my Ninja cup, I'm going to be adding 1 cup of firm tofu. And I've just lightly drained the water out of this and just cubed it up. So that's 1 cup of tofu. Next, I have some flavourings. I've got a teaspoon of onion salt. I've got a teaspoon of garlic powder. I've got a teaspoon of dried sage and dried tarragon. So that's going in there, and that is our flavouring. We really want a neutral flavour for this chicken element. I've also got a teaspoon of miso paste. Next, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of soy milk, and that is our wet ingredients done. So we need to blitz this up until really smooth, and then we'll add it to the dry ingredients. It's as simple as that. And that's it, that's the wet ingredient. I'm actually going to put my apron on for this. These are my new Avant-Garde vegan aprons, by the way. You can find them on my website. If anyone wants one, I can ship them worldwide as well. Oh, and also the t-shirt underneath I made as well, so if you want to find one of those, you can get them on my website. It's just celebrating my upcoming debut book, which is called Vegan 100. If you want to pre-order that book as well, look for it on Amazon. So, just going to simply add this wet mix into the dry mix. And make sure you get every bit of it in, because I've really calculated this recipe to the exact. Mix together the wet and dry ingredients. So all you want to do now is make sure everything is off the side of the bowl until it forms one sort of ball of dough, and then we need to knead it. And that is the most important part of this recipe. So now I've formed it into a dough ball, I'm actually going to turn this out and knead it on the surface. This will really impress and wow some of your non-vegan friends. So I've just turned out the dough, and it's time to knead it. And as I said, this is the most important part of making this seitan recipe, because if you don't knead it, you will end up with really sort of spongy seitan, and I have done that myself once when I was testing out recipes. It's just not good at all. It doesn't have any of the characteristics of what we're trying to get really from this. So you need to knead it firm and for about 10 minutes. Now, as you can see, I'm just using the heel of my hand to apply lots of pressure and just roll out this dough. But, and I wasn't going to show you this, my trick at home to get this dough really well kneaded is to actually pound it. So I will show you how I do it, and it does actually speed up the kneading process and make sure you get that really good texture of the final result. So let me get rid of this. So I literally just grab it in my hands and squeeze it and just apply as much pressure as I can into it, work it as much as you can, and just pound it. Sorry if that's a bit loud, but I know that is not sort of the typical method that people would show you when kneading, but this isn't just bread dough. This is actually, you know, this is a meat replacement product, and this is how I get the best results from it. It's a good way of getting all your frustration out as well. Just go Conor McGregor on it. So finish off kneading it. It'll take around about 5 more minutes, and then it'll be ready to get into the broth and start cooking. So I've got the dough to this stage. I've been kneading for about 10 minutes. At this stage now, I'm going to let this dough rest for about 10 minutes while we prepare the broth that we're going to cook it in first. Okay, so set this aside and let's get the broth cooking. So I'm just going to put 1 litre of vegetable stock on the hob and let that heat up nicely. Add 1 onion chopped into quarters, followed by a couple of sprigs of rosemary and thyme. And let's get that to a nice simmer. So the dough has had a nice rest after me pounding it for about 10 minutes. I'm just going to cut it into 4. So just to be safe, I just knead it in my hands, each piece, just to make sure there's no air pockets or anything like that, because that does just expand in the water and that doesn't give you that nice dense meaty texture. Now this has to go into the broth for 35 minutes or until just firm to the touch. Now I really recommend making your chicken pieces before serving them, so I do it the day before ideally, and in that way they sort of cool and they firm up nicely in the fridge overnight, and then you can coat them in a KFC sort of style batter and spices. After 35 minutes of cooking, remove the seitan pieces from the broth and allow them to cool completely. I double check they're firm to the touch as well. Guys, the seitan chicken pieces are now cool. I've set up my sort of coating station, so I've got some plain flour, I've got some chickpea flour, which I'm just going to add a few tablespoons of water to, and this just acts more like a batter to cling the spices and the flour and the breadcrumbs to the chicken pieces. I think I stirred this enough. I've got rid of the major lumps, but if there's a few little lumps, don't worry about it. In the third bowl, add 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs and combine well. So up until recently, this little spice mixture was a bit of a secret, but I've got a list to remember all the spices in. So going in, I have 2 teaspoons of cracked black pepper. I have a pinch of sea salt, 1 tablespoon of cayenne pepper, 1 tablespoon of dried chili flakes, 1 tablespoon of oregano, 1 tablespoon of paprika, I think I've said that, 1 tablespoon of dried sage, and 1 teaspoon of ground allspice. I could have never remembered that, so forgive me for using a piece of paper. You never saw that. So just mix that well. It may sound like a lot of spices, but you need to get all the flavours running right through. I've also got in that mix 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar as well, and that just adds a little bit of sweetness. So you should have sort of a red flour consistency, and that just shows that there's enough spice running through it to get real flavour into the batter. So let's get those all important seitan chicken pieces. So here's the chicken pieces. They're cooled off now, and I know they don't look great still, but honestly they taste amazing. So all I want you to do is just tear them apart. You don't have to tear them, you can just chop them into pieces, but I tear them because it gives a bit more of a surface area for all this amazing spice batter to really cling onto them. So just break it up into sizable chunks. After all, I'm going to put these into a burger. You can eat them on their own, but I'm going to put them into a burger, you know, just because. This is a treat after all. I wouldn't go recommending eating this every day, but it's a treat. So now it's time to coat the chicken pieces in the batter. First up, place the chicken pieces into the flour mix. Keeping one hand clean, dip the piece into the gram flour, then into the spice mix. Don't worry if you make a little bit of a mess, it'll be worth it. Rather than throwing them all in at once, it's best just to take your time with it and do a couple each time. I am trying to come up with a gluten-free seitan recipe. I have had a few attempts and it's gone okay, but I haven't perfected it yet, so stay tuned to my YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. So once you've coated all the pieces, set them aside and heat up your fryer. So guys, it's now time to cook the chicken pieces. You can actually bake these in the oven. It'll take around 30 minutes, actually about 25 minutes, or just until golden and crispy. But if we're going to go to this extent and make Kentucky fried chicken, I'm going to fry it. So I've got the fryer set at 180 degrees Celsius. Make sure you've got your station ready and you've just lined a tray or a plate with some kitchen paper to soak up any excess oil. Now I'm actually using avocado oil for this, which makes it a slight bit healthier. So to cook the chicken pieces, I'm going to fry them for around 5 to 6 minutes or until golden and crisp. And I only want to do a few at a time because it will cool down the oil. So I'm going to put that in actually, and I'm just going to drop them in really carefully away from myself. Be careful when placing them in the oil so we don't want to have any oil splashing out. And also, if you're not using deep fryer, make sure you've only filled your pan halfway high, because you will notice that the oil does rise. Now, I've probably mentioned this about 5 times now, but after all, this is just a treat, so don't have this every day. You can actually use the uncoated chicken in stir fries, it works really well. And stay tuned for more recipe videos in season 4, which are a lot healthier. I've got some really nice salads coming up and some really nice quick home cooked meals. So they've been cooking for about 2 minutes in oil. Let's have a look at them. They are looking and smelling really good. I can tell already they're going to be so crispy. There's so much flavour packed into them, and it will really surprise whoever you're cooking it for, and even yourself, when you bite into them and get a really good texture. Look how golden and crisp they look. They're ready now. Just shake off any excess oil and then put them straight onto our plate lined with kitchen paper. And that will get rid of any of the excess oil. And they look incredible. And to keep them crisp, I just add a touch of salt. Let's get the rest of them in. All the chicken pieces are done now. Now let's get making those cruelty-free KFC burgers. I still can't get over how amazing these look, and they're so crispy. It just looks incredible. Can't believe it's vegan. Now I'm going to serve them inside these really nice sub rolls. So first up, I'm going to add some sriracha into the sub roll. So next, I'm going to add these crispy KFC pieces. Every time I see these, it just makes me smile, because I can't believe it's vegan. You can just show these off, and to anyone who says vegan food is boring and just grass, show them this. On top, I'm going to add some of my rainbow slaw. And if you want the recipe for my rainbow slaw, just go to my pulled jackfruit recipe video, and it's in there. Finally, to serve on top, for a bit of freshness, I'm going to add some of my homemade cucumber, which I've just sliced on the mandolin into some ribbons. Just adds a nice cool fresh flavour, because after all, it's quite spicy. I'm just going to add a few leaves of coriander, just because I love it. Adds a nice bit of green, another little dimension of flavour. You can add obviously lettuce, whatever you like. I've just gone with my rainbow slaw, as you can see, which works really well. It's really creamy, really fresh, and of course it looks great. So finally, let's get the lid on. I'm going to put one at the back, and I'll leave that one off just for you all to see it. And there we have it. There's my cruelty-free KFC burgers, which if you serve to anyone, you won't believe that that's vegan. It's an amazing treat every now and then. And to be honest with you guys, it's actually my birthday today. So this is my birthday treat, and I'm going to go and enjoy it. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, that's my cruelty-free KFC burgers. Guys, I hope you're as wowed as I am, because after all the effort that's gone into it, to produce something like this is so worth it. It's such an amazing treat. I just want to show you this piece here, and this is the beauty of breaking apart the seitan pieces. You get like odd pieces and shapes, and it just, it looks like chicken. So if you want to, sort of show non-vegans what vegan food can be, this is a great thing to show them. And also if you miss things like chicken or fried chicken, this is great. But let's just have a bite. Did you hear that crunch? And did you see me chewing? It's got a meat texture. Look at that. That would pass for chicken to me, in my opinion. It's really tasty, but the big challenge is for me to try and eat this as a burger. I'm going to cut it in half because I don't want to spill it all down me. Before I eat it though, don't forget to pre-order my book. It'll be really amazing if you can all continue to support me. It's my debut cookbook. There's going to be loads of recipes like this, but also loads of healthy recipes, raw recipes, and just, something for everyone in there. It's the book I wish I had before I went vegan. And yeah, please go and pre-order it now. I need to have a taste of this. That is incredible, absolutely incredible. The rainbow slaw is just so well with it. The cucumber just adds a nice freshness. You've got to try this. I know it doesn't look too great when you're making it and it takes a long time, but if you make it the day before the seitan and then coat it and cook it like I did, it just speeds everything up and just, you know, it breaks up the process and it just tastes incredible. Please cook this for your non-vegan guests or your friends and this will blow them away. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and comment. This is the first episode in season 4 and there's going to be some amazing recipes coming up. Healthy, gluten-free, raw recipes, quick recipes. So please stay tuned and subscribe. Thank you so much.